Hey guys, it's Size. Since the most recent round of shadow changes have actually came live on the weekly reset on Tuesday the 10th for NA and Wednesday the 11th for EU, I thought it was about time I hopped on and gave a little overview of the changes and how it affects our talent traces, our priority cast systems, and gameplay overall. So, looking at the buffs, we have Mind Blast, Mind Spike, Void Torrent, Devouring Plague, and Mind Flay damage increased by 15% each. Heavily single target focus buffs. Blizzard really thought the Shadow was a bit lackluster on single target, and they weren't wrong. We did need these buffs, and it does change how we play, especially in single target, but also in Mythic Plus. We've had changes to the talent trees, and I'm going to pop these up on the screen for you now. So, the first build, essentially what we've already been playing. However, we are now sacrificing Screams of the Void, Maddening Touch, and 1 point in Dark Evangelism, mainly just to pick up that Mind Spike and Surge of Darkness. With the 15% buff to Mind Spike, it does a lot of damage for your Psychic Link now. And in some cases, I've found since the weekly reset and the buffs have came in the keys that I've been doing, Psychic Link has been on par with Mindseer or beating it. So we'll talk about the priority system closer to the end of the video, but it really changes the playstyle. A lot of people were avoiding playing Mindspike, and you don't have to play it still. However, in 10.5 as well, we're going to be getting another change to Psychic Link, which means that your Mind Games and your Void Torrent also are affected by Psychic Link, and it's good practice to get into now, having the Mind Spike damage on top of your Mind Blast already working into the Psychic Link. It's extremely good damage, and you should try and get into the habit of it as you can now. The Yogg is a standard build. It empowers your Mind Bender if the target's healthy, in execute range, if you fear them, and you're still picking up that inescapable torment. We'll move on to the next build now, and this time we're going to be looking at Yogg and Cthulhu. So, specifically with this build, you'll notice straight away we're not picking up inescapable torment. We're instead going down into Screams of the Void and Adler Cthulhu. Another standard rotation and build, except for the fact that you would always take inescapable torment. Now we're not. So Cthulhu is really good in dungeons like Knocko Defensive, Shadow Moon Burial Grounds, dungeons that have a lot of trashing. That means that you want to maintain as much insanity as possible, and you do this through obviously your Mindseer Tentacle or your Mindflay Tentacle. Extremely decent talent for generating insanity. The damage is a bit lackluster, and you will miss out on the Mindbender damage from Inescapable Torment. However, the insanity generation is noticeable, and both of these builds are competitive with each other. You can use either one in each dungeon. You're not going to feel like you're falling behind. However, I would encourage you to get into Mythic Plus now, get used to the Mind Spike in your rotation, and finding out how you like your build. If you are too used from Escapable Torment, from using it all the way through Shadowlands, by all means keep it. It's a decent build, and it is a good chunk of your burst AoE damage. Having that Inescapable Torment buff means that you're able to open up on a new pack. Maybe you don't have Mind Devourer, maybe you don't have Insanity, but you have Mindbender. You can open up with that Mindbender, you can throw your Shadow Word Death in, and your Mind Blasts, Void Eruption, your Mind Blasts again, and you're guaranteed a big chunk of AoE damage. Also for Execute as well. However, have a go with these two different builds. There will be more, depending on tune and Blizzard still might change things. People are coming up with different builds all the time. But these are the two standard builds that I encourage you to play with. They've seen good results. They sim extremely well. The results speak for themselves. Shadow Priests have gone from struggling to maybe hit that 60, 70k overall to upwards of 80, 90k. Doesn't sound like a lot of overall damage, but it brings us on to par with some of the other classes that we're doing Mythic Plus already. And to me, that's a good sign, right? You want to enjoy Shadow Priest, you want to be able to get into the swing of it again. And that means feeling competitive. You want to feel like your class can do good damage. So alongside that, we're going to be making sure that you're taking either Inescapable Torment or Screams of the Void heading down into Adler Cthulhu. On top of all these new changes then, the rotation in single target and AoE does change slightly. So I'm going to go over that in just a second. I'm going to throw it up on the screen as well. But bearing in mind, it's all playstyle based. It's fine me saying that these are the rotations that you should be doing. You know, you should be casting abilities in a certain priority order. But depending on the content that you're doing, it might not always be possible. You know, there might be some encounters or some situations where you can't apply these, and that's okay. It's just a guideline. Do the best that you can in any given scenario, and nobody can complain. So let's get into the rotational changes. So, first of all, the main priority system that's changed is how you spend your fillers, how you spend your time in between damage windows, in between, you know, your Mindbender, your Void Eruption, your DA windows, and that's going to be through Surge of Darkness Mind Spike, Mindflay Insanity, and normal Mindflay. So, since you're taking Mind Spike again, and you're taking Surge of Darkness, as a filler, you're going to want to be trying to save your Surge of Darkness procs from mobility. But let's say, right, in an ideal scenario, you can stand still, you can do your rotation perfectly, and you don't have to worry about it. What you're going to want to be doing is using your Mind Spike, providing you have a Surge of Darkness proc. That means that your Mind Spike is instant cast, it can stack up to 3 times, and if that's the case, you know, you want to be spending them back to back to back. But don't cap on Insanity. You want to be spending your Mind Spikes, yes, but you don't want to cap on Insanity, and you don't want to waste a Mind Devourer proc. So what you're going to be doing is spending your Mind Spikes, but if you see you're going to cap on Insanity, or you're weaving in your Mind Blasts in between, and you get a Mind Devourer proc, you want to use that proc. Even if that means you don't get to channel Mindflay Insanity, you still use the Mind Devourer proc. Extremely important. You'll lose out on more damage by wasting this than you will by overlapping Mindflay Insanities. But if you don't have any Surge of Darkness Mind Spike procs, then you're going to want to be DPing into a Mindflay Insanity, and obviously if you don't have enough Insanity to cast Devouring Plague, it's going to be a normal Mindflay. It sounds a little bit complex, you know, some people might struggle with getting around that, but the main basis is, if you have a free Mind Spike, cast it. If not, DP and Mindflay Insanity, and if you cannot DP due to not having enough Insanity, normal Mindflay is fine. Outside of this, the normal rotation hasn't changed. The main thing I will note is, if you choose to play Cthulhu and Yogg, as I mentioned before, you don't have access to Inescapable Torment. This does mean that in an AoE situation, you're not going to be worrying about using that Shadow Word Death as soon as you use Mindbender, but you are still going to want a Mind Blast to try and get Mind Devourer procs, but you don't have to worry about sitting on 0 stacks, right? You don't want to use them all up. You can save them in reserve and use them as you need, because your Mindbender's not going to be jumping around and doing that extra damage. And that's all I have for you today, guys. Nice little quick video just getting into the new Shadow Priest changes, the buffs, and how it affects us. I really appreciate you if you watched all the way through. I'd appreciate a like and subscribe. And if there's any other questions regarding Shadow Priest in general, please ask in the comments. I respond to all comments. There's no silly questions, you know, even if it's just a little bit of guidance on gear or talents, I'm more than happy to help out where I can. But with that, guys, until next time, take care, and I'll see you then. Ta-ra.